Hey guys, hope this video finds everyone well. This afternoon I'm going to be talking about my Primus Express stove and Primus LiTech cookware system. This is what I use when I go camping every time. I've actually been using this particular setup for around about 4 years. At least the stove I have. The cookware was a recent addition. I actually upgraded cookware a little over a year ago. If you guys have seen any of my other videos, then you guys know that I enjoy camping and I enjoy hiking. A lot of this is beneficial because some of the gear that you end up using and trying on the trail is stuff that can be crossed over into the preparedness community or being a little bit more self-sufficient, things of that nature. I do know friends and family that do have a similar setup for their house. They're not really, quote, preppers, but they are individuals who believe in maybe having supplies that may help them through maybe an extended snowstorm. Here in the mountains of Tennessee, sometimes that the snowstorms can get bad. Anyway, this entire kit system here is everything that I need anytime when I go on the trails. It provides me with the ability to be able to boil water. As well as have everything encompassed in this kit. It also comes in a bag, and again, if you watched any of my videos on like my bug out bag, you guys will know I don't throw anything like this away. It can be very useful and beneficial. But anyway, this entire kit, everything that I need to cook out on the trail, weighs 1 pound, 4.8 ounces. Now, you could upgrade your cookware system to a titanium set. It's going to cost you a little bit more. You can actually pick up this entire kit right here for around about $35. So it's very reasonable. So without further ado, we'll get right into this cookware system, and I'll show you how everything works, and we'll even boil some water and time it, and show you how quickly you can boil water. Go ahead and go over this. This thing is exactly what it looks like. It is actually a saucer frying pan. It's got these, both of these have these handle systems. In order to extend these, what you do is you actually squeeze them both together and you pull out, and that locks into place. You could actually use this as a small tray if you were actually splitting a meal with somebody. Or if you're actually, a lot of people actually take eggs if they're just doing like a one-nighter or a two-nighter. They'll actually bring eggs on the trail, and you can use this to cook this. What I really like, and one of the main reasons I upgraded to this particular system, is because of the rubber coating that's around the handles. So as this thing heats up, or especially as you're boiling water, and you got to take that off your stove, you don't run the injury of burning yourself. So that's one of the big benefits of this thing. Next is the Primus. This is the Express stove. Now, the one that I use is the one that actually does have the ignition system or the igniter internally. This one is 3.3 ounces with the igniter. I think it's 2.8 ounces. Don't quote me on that, without the igniter system in it here. It's got, I'll get you a closer look here. If you guys can actually see, it's got teeth on the upper part of these arms, and what these arms do is as you pull them out, they lock into place. So that provides you with a very stable platform when you're, anything that you're boiling water with. This is your actually valve, and this is what you use to open and close to allow the fuel to be able to travel up this channel here up into the top. And you can see it's actually churned colors a little bit. Again, I've used this thing for 4 years, and the ignition system in it is still good, and I've used it a lot. And normally I usually have somebody else with me when I'm on the trail, so I'm not only cooking for myself, I'm cooking for somebody else. So there's the stove. Next that I carry, and this is optional, guys. This is not a mandatory for this particular setup or system. It's something that, through my experiences, that I thought was beneficial. It's a stand for your fuel cartridge. What it does is it's got these arms that extend out, and this provides you with a much larger base platform to make your canister as well as your whole entire cook system more stable. And it's got these channels here, you can see here, and the difference between these channels is these inner channels are for your smaller canisters, So, you know, basically it just depends on what size canister systems that you're using. This one here, and this one's by Burton. It's a fuel blend. This one, entire canister is 8.1 ounces. You know, and this is a larger one now. Just going to kind of give you guys a rough estimate. Imagine cutting that in half. That's about what your smaller cans are about the size of. But the problem is there's really only $1 difference. So a lot of the people that you end up running into on the trails usually go with the larger containers, just because it just makes more sense. You're only paying $1 for, you know, about double the amount of fuel, so you're going to get more usage out of it. And what this does is this just simply just snaps into place here on your base. Okay. Now these all have usually some kind of protector tab. You just simply pull this off, and it's got a valve, and basically you're just going to screw your stove into the top there. It's very easy, and you don't have to tighten this thing down. You don't have to cinch it down. You really want to get it snug. Now, so there's pretty much your entire system set up, ready to go. Now let me move this out of the way, and we'll go over the larger container. Again, this is really what your main cooking utensil right here for boiling water. This thing is absolutely wonderful. Realistically, this thing would boil up to about 32 ounces of water. And it even has, and believe it or not, you wouldn't think that this would make that big of a difference. Pan this camera out here. You guys see this lip? It's hard to see. Let me move it over here in the light. You guys see that lip right there? You wouldn't believe how much of a difference that small little lip makes when it comes to pouring your water. I do use a lot of Mountain House on the trail. I think they make really good food. But without the old system that I was using, did not have this lip here. And so when I would pour the water, you know, instead of having a pour very, very small, the size of this, it would pour water about that width, and so I would have sometimes some overspill. And you know, and when you're pouring boiling hot water, that's just something that you really don't want to take a chance on. So one of the cons about this particular system is it does not have any type of internal measurements. Now, if you've ever done any hiking on the AT or any extended amounts of hikes where you're out there for multiple days, ounces really mean a lot. You really have to watch your water consumption. So, you know, one of the biggest benefits of having something in order to measure your waters is so that you're not wasting water. That is one of my biggest gripes with this. I know that there's probably not a way that they can put a window inside of here, but at least if they could laser etch some kind of system on the inside so that you could actually measure how much water that you're using, because some mountain houses require 16 ounces, some only require 8 ounces. So it really depends on what you're using. So I usually carry some type of water bottle with me that I have those measurements available to me. So anyway, the entire system set up. I'll pan out here so you guys can see that. That's the entire system there. And in comparison to just a regular Dasani bottle, you can see that size. Okay. Now I'm going to actually turn this thing on so you guys can see it in action. It's very, very simple. All you have to do is just turn this valve and you can instantly hear your fuel. This is your ignition switch here. Sometimes it takes a couple clicks, and then sometimes you also have to adjust the amount of fuel that you have coming out of there. There we go. That'll give you a better look and an example. So you can turn it down to however much that you need. Now in windier conditions you are going to have to turn it up, and you're going to lose a little bit more fuel consumption in windier conditions. This one doesn't have a windscreen. You could use something makeshift. You could either do it behind a tree on the opposite side of the direction of the wind. And just to show you this thing, you can really crank out the flame on this thing. So anyway, that just gives you a demonstration of this thing in action. Again, sometimes as you're using your internal ignition system, you've got to adjust the fuel either up or down in order to get it right to ignite. But the benefit of this thing is if it ends up going down, I always carry a fire striker with me when I go as a backup, so that way I can still ignite this thing. But let's go ahead and actually pour some water in here, and we'll time it to see the time elapsed that it takes from pouring the water in there to the actual boiling time. Alright guys, I just poured 16 ounces of water in here, and we're going to time it to see exactly how long it actually takes for 16 ounces of water to boil, so that way we get a better real-time scenario. Now of course this is without wind, so keep that in mind. We'll get the timer going there, just a few seconds off. Alright, well, just a little over a minute. Now you can probably start to see larger bubbles starting to form at the bottom. The reason I chose 16 ounces is because that is the most common amount of water that I use for Mountain House. Usually I have to buy the packets for 2 people. Man likes to eat. Alright, we're just a little over 2 minutes, and we are already starting to see bubbles come up. But again, I want to wait till it actually gets to a rolling boil. Now the advertisement on the box for this thing says estimates it at 3.5 minutes for complete boil. 2 minutes 39 seconds. We are now at 3 minutes, and we are at a rolling boil. So that'll again give you a good demonstration of the how quick this thing can boil 16 ounces of water. For an overall rating of this thing, I really would. I give this thing a 10 out of 10. This thing is absolutely amazing. Again, I've been using this system for 4 years now on the trail. It has never once failed me, even in high windy conditions like on the top of Rome Mountain. I wish I had the actual stats of the elevation of Rome Mountain off the top of my head, but I don't. But it does get very, very windy up there on top of what's called the Balds. So anyway, this concludes the review of the Primus LiTech Cookware system and the Primus Express stove with the ignition switch. Alright, thanks guys for watching.